Ben, thank you for joining us. We have you in a new location, a new home office. So excited and appreciate you taking the time around the holidays.
Stuck at the home office, so we are hanging in there, which is great. But the only thing that's dangerous about the home office is just the fridge is really close and just 2x the snacking I usually do, which is a bummer. But outside of that, it's been great.
Sounds like the holidays for everyone.
So,
Well, today we want to talk about our volunteer experiences and how we've created them to be really high impact as well as engaging for teams. We get so many questions from nonprofits as well as corporations wondering like what is the best way to structure a volunteer experience. And so I thought by no means is ours 100% the right solution, but we can talk through how we've constructed them and why we've chosen to make those decisions. And so maybe I'll open it up with a question, maybe just giving the high level overview on our volunteer experiences, why we've constructed them the way we have, and we can evolve from there.
yeah, absolutely. And hopefully folks can like take away some notes, and if they're working on their volunteer experiences, whether it's a nonprofit or a company, like hopefully you can take some notes from this. We obviously do hundreds of these all the time. And so we've learned a lot, and we've had to iterate like what really works and what really moves people and creates a huge amount of impact. I will say as a starting point, we have different kinds of experiences. We have hands-on volunteer experiences and fully digital virtual experiences. And regardless of what that experience is, there's a very similar format for when we come together for that live event experience. And I think there's a few things that we try to encapsulate with the time that we have with the group that's volunteering. One of those things is empathy. Like we want people to really understand the cause. We want people to, most importantly, understand the why. Like why is my donation of time going to make an impact? Why is that important? If people don't understand the why and they don't have empathy towards the cause, then we're missing the mark. This is going to be a one-time volunteer effort, and then they're not going to be able to go and carry that forward to other volunteer opportunities and volunteer again for that same cause. And so empathy, storytelling, and just that why is really important for us. The other thing that kind of relates to that is just education is key. Like we want people to be able to walk away from that time that we had together and go, I learned something new. I have some new knowledge, and I have the ability to take action with that knowledge. I think that's really important. Then we have, always the impact piece. Like we want to make sure that every time that we have folks together, they can actually feel and see impacts being made with the time that we have together. And so that's where the kind of the core volunteering really comes in and takes place. And the last thing I'll say is we want people to have a lot of fun. Like, we talk about some heavy stuff, some stuff that's very real. But at the same time, we're trying to make sure that people can bond over these experiences, that we can get to know each other a little better through these experiences, and come out of this feeling like a stronger team because we went through a situation, we supported a cause together as a unit, and we're going to come out stronger as a result. And so we can dive into each piece of that and how we do that. Andy, am I missing anything though, in just regards to what we try to pack into that time that we have with the volunteer group?
Yeah, I think the one other comment I would make is, the time that we have, and we've studied a lot of different time formats with our volunteer experiences, and it's totally different depending on if it's an in-person, really customized experience. That's okay to be longer, but in this COVID world that we are still living in, we often find it's best to keep timelines under 60 minutes. There is heavy Zoom fatigue. People are very tempted to go, check their emails after that. And we want to be respectful of that and make sure we have a really engaged group. And so I think one of the things that we spend a lot of time on is we have this 60-minute experience. How do we extend the experience? Mm-hmm. And how do we carry through the team building, education, empathy before the experience and then after the experience? And I think that is that's one of the most important parts. And I think one of the things that drives success and really creates repeat volunteers. And so I think I would touch on that. But Ben, I'd be curious, you mentioned a lot around education and empathy. And the question I often think about is, hey, this is really sad topics we're often talking about. Let's say we're talking about, people in developing countries not having access to clean water and how many of them die because of that. How do you think people should construct these experiences when it is a really sad topic, but no one wants to sign up for 60 minutes of sadness? Mm-hmm. And so I'm curious on your perspective there.
Yeah, I'll talk about that. And then let's double back after that to Zoom fatigue. Let's talk about that and how we're trying to conquer that, because I think a lot of us are dealing with getting people to engage in an experience with Zoom fatigue. But to your question around I'm losing. What was your question, Andy? It's
the excessive sadness that comes with talking about these things and how it can be exhausting.
So I think, we are quite upfront sometimes, and we have a disclaimer actually at the beginning of our event that some of the topics we talk about can be taken personal and can cause emotions because they are, sometimes sad, really heavy topics. But we want people to have an understanding of our starting point. And I think how we structure it is we want people to have the numbers. So we have, by the numbers, which is our data outlook in regards to what's actually happening. Put media and everything aside, what's actually happening on the ground for these cause areas. So if it's deforestation, for example, let's give people real accurate numbers. If it's the water crisis, for example, let's give people real accurate numbers. Now, to your point, Andy, sometimes those numbers are really challenging to swallow when you think about just the negative impact that's having on people and on our globe. And I think what we would try to do is give people that data, give people that information so they have a baseline of like, hey, this is where we're starting from. Now that you have that information, here's what's working in regards to actually solving some of these challenges. And so we start with some of the heavy topics, but when we finish this experience, our hope is that people come out of it going, there are solutions that are actually working. And I have a path forward to continue supporting these solutions that are actually working. One of the things that we try to do is identify the best nonprofit organizations in the world and bring awareness to them during these live event experiences with the hope that people can walk away going like, wow, amazing work is being done. And I have ways I can continue supporting through additional volunteerism, additional donations and giving, so on and so forth. And so that's kind of how we structure it. But curious, are we missing anything there? Because, this is a big thing we want to talk about.
Yeah, I think, like you said, the facts are the facts, right? And we feel it's very important to share the honest, true facts. Yes, that can be challenging to swallow, but I think everyone is aware there's really challenging issues in our world, and we're all adults, and we really want to treat these with the respect that they need to have. But I also think, the power of anecdotes on the human mind is really strong, and so sharing individual stories of people dealing with these data points, and then the individual stories of people helping. And I think that really creates a feeling that we can make change, and we can make change. The work that we're doing is always delivering a high level of impact. And, I think that's what we can always go back to. But that being said, we try to really balance the impact that we're having with the data and the facts. And I think that's something, will continue to be a challenge because for everyone, these can be really sensitive topics, especially if you've faced it personally. And so I think, having I don't want to call it a disclaimer, but having just calling out the fact that these are challenging topics is really important because these things happen in our local community and we need to be aware and educated so we can make change.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want to talk about how we tackle Zoom fatigue? I'm specifically thinking about our investments in technology and how we're engaging people right now. Do you want to touch on that?
Yeah, I'll kind of give a preamble. I think, hey, I'm a permanent work from home worker. Ben is in the office, but also works from home and spends so much time on Zoom. And I think we feel it just like everybody else. And the last thing we want is people, being even more tired by joining these volunteer events. These should be engaging. They should really be energy promoters for the employees and the participants. And so the first thing that we realized is you need to meet people where they are. And if someone doesn't want to turn on their video, you should not be pressuring them to turn on their video and be respectful for the energy level that they have. You don't want to drain them more than they already are being on 10 meetings. But then as I think about the investments we've made, how can you make the 60 minutes as engaging as possible? So it's not like you're necessarily looking at a Zoom, watching a movie, nodding your head. It's more, how can we create what almost feels like we're in person while using the computer? And there's a number of creative technologies that we use to really make it an interactive experience as much as possible. And the other thing I like to think about when I think about Zoom fatigue is there's so many great aspects of the Zoom culture that we have. And we should try to do everything we can to highlight that. And we work hard, for big companies to have people connect with teams on different continents. You would have never known your teammate in, let's say you're in the US, a teammate in India. But if you do one of these things together, who cares about Zoom? You're getting the chance to get to know someone new in a totally different situation. And that's really interesting. And I think the more that we can do to use team building as a way to get over the Zoom fatigue and take it from a meeting webinar style to an interactive experience for every single participant at scale is where we're spending so much of our time and effort.
Yeah, we're giving people these abilities to engage, and I think people register for these events because they're interested in the cause. And when they're interested in the cause, they oftentimes have thoughts around the cause as well. I'll give folks an example. We just did an event today, and we highlighted a metric, which was we have 1.6 billion people in the globe right now that are considered unsheltered or don't have they have inadequate shelter. And what was crazy is we asked a question to the group that was, what do you think can be done about this? And all of a sudden we have people from Indonesia, the Philippines, India, and the US all responding, like submitting their answers, and they're all showing up real time on screen live because they're engaging with their phone and writing what they think is a good response. And what an amazing tool to be able to go like, wow, people have really good ideas about what can be done. Like, let's talk about that for a moment. And when people are actively participating in the volunteer experience, not just being talked to about what's happening, but getting to actually engage, it creates such a powerful dynamic where we're all learning together. We're sharing ideas about how we can make this situation better. And I think that's the beauty, that people come out of that with a lot of energy. To your point, Andy, they come out of that like, my ideas felt heard. I got to engage throughout this presentation and share my thoughts, or like give my sense and estimates around numbers and figures. And I got to participate and make an impact and come out of that with ways to support. And like that kind of energy you get coming out of that, I think is really important to have.
Yeah, I agree. And I think I always go back to an experience I had growing up doing Habitat for Humanity. And my memory of that experience was coming together with 15, 20 people in my local community, where we would come together, we would get to know each other by working together, and we would also learn new skills while using our hands, interacting. And so it was highly engaging, and we were delivering real impact to people that needed it. So we're trying to do everything that really unique experience was in person, totally virtually.
Mm-hmm.
Giving you the opportunity to connect with people you don't know, who have shared experiences, shared interests, learning something new by trying things out. And I think the more you can do that, the more you're going to have an engaged audience.
100%. So I think the key takeaways to keep it short for folks is the empathy, impact, fun. Like those are the three magic ones.
Yeah, exactly. And rotating throughout them for the entire event. That's really, keeping people moving forward into what they need to understand.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Well, Ben, I appreciate the time. I think this is a quick one. We covered our event experience. The last thing I would say is, everyone, feel free to reach out to us. If you're a nonprofit, if you want help building a nonprofit experience that is engaging, if you're a company, we're here to help. This is, we do hundreds and thousands of these every month. And so we are more than happy to be sharing what we've learned to help engage employees.
Absolutely. Reach out to us. We're here to support.
Thanks, Ben.